And thank you, Vicky. Thank you to everyone who has joined us in today. And you talked about synchronicity, and that's exactly what was going through my mind when both of the speakers before me spoke. Because I thought about, that we have to be grateful for all that we have. And then Bill spoke about bouncing back, and that's exactly what my story is going to be about. And 2 Christmases ago, I fell in love. I fell in love with refinishing an old wooden floor. I spent maybe about a week pulling off all the old layers of dull varnish that was accumulated on the floor. I spent time sanding that floor so that every piece of wood would be would bring out the character in every piece of wood and make it stand out. I spent time applying a stain or varnish to the planks to make sure that the eyes of the plank shone brightly. And I did it so that at the end of it all, that old wooden floor would have a brand new life. And this morning, as I stared at the floor, wondering where my hit talk would take me, it hit me that that was my story. That was what I had to start this hit talk with, because this really illustrated perfectly my motto now in life, which is to transform hurt into hope. And so I believe that we can transform all of our hurts that we have survived. We can transform them through the power of storytelling. So Dr. Chopra spoke about storytelling. And then we heard about gratitude. So again, there's that synchronicity, storytelling and gratitude. And that's what my story is all about. So I believe in the cathartic effect of storytelling. But more than that, more credibly, a lot of extensive research has been done about reflective writing and storytelling, especially work done by James Pennebaker, who is a professor of psychology from the University of Texas. And in addition to his research and my belief, I'm also living proof of the power of storytelling. So as Vicky would have mentioned, 7.5 years ago, during an attempted robbery, I was shot in my face, my chest, and my shoulders. What happened was, and it sounds almost unbelievable, but my chin was completely blown off. I was left with a lower jaw that was useless. My tongue was macerated and was in danger of slipping into my throat and strangling me. And by the time I got to the hospital, I had lost a lot of blood already. For a brief time, I was unable to smile because for some reason, the signals to my brain from my brain just didn't make it. They were sidetracked. I was also unable to eat solid foods for 9 months, and I was unable to speak for 3 weeks. And I'll tell you something, that was extremely frustrating because there I was lying with all these coherent thoughts in my mind and being unable to express them verbally to anyone. But thank goodness I could have written still. And I believe that that's where my writing journey started. And thankfully, due to reconstructive and plastic surgery, I've been able to fix some of my physical injuries. But there were many injuries that were not visible. My family, my friends, my colleagues, and my students all underwent tremendous trauma. I had to sell my car in order to cover the expenses of all my surgeries. And I had to give up my job. Now, after teaching chemistry in public secondary schools for close to 22 years, I was now left wondering what or who I was. And I began to slip into PTSD. Now, up to that point would have been the end of the first part of my life story. And it could have been the end of my story. But just like Bill said, I chose not to be a victim. And instead, what happened was that marked the beginning of the second half of my story. And while it was not an easy process, I think that just as I did with that wooden floor, I started doing with myself. I stripped off all the layers of hurt and pain. I sanded away my insecurities and my inadequacies, and I began that process of transforming myself, of redefining who I had become via the process of reflective writing. Now, reflective writing involves critical thinking. And critical thinking means that you deal with a situation, you think about what has happened, you think about how you felt, how you reacted, what you could have done differently, what you had done in the past that could probably help you to cope now, and what you could probably do in future situations to help you to cope with other crises that might develop. And having thought about all those things, you spend time without stopping, you write for at least 20 minutes or until you are uncomfortable. You just keep writing. And what you do with that writing is, after having gotten all of this stuff out of your head, you can either choose to destroy it or you can share it so that someone else can learn from your lessons. And that's what I chose to do. Now, your situation may be very different than mine was, but let's face it, we are all going through a crisis situation at this point in time. This COVID-19 pandemic has snowballed global challenges, unprecedented in our lifetime, bringing to us challenges with our health, with economies, with the environment, and with so many other things. But the good thing is that, just like I use reflective writing, any one of us can use reflective writing and storytelling, and we can use it to start or to continue thriving into the future, regardless of our circumstance, whether it is this COVID situation or some other situation. And just like the eyes of that wooden floor shone brightly when I refinished it, my eyes shone brightly when I looked into them after the injury. They became my source of hope and inspiration. And that is what brought about the transformation through reflective writing for me. And I'm sure that when you take my story, Dr. Chopra's own, and what Bill shared with us, and with what all the other speakers are going to share this evening, when we take all of that and we put it together, we are going to be able, you are going to be able to bring about transformation through hope and inspiration and reflective writing and storytelling. So thank you very much, Vicky.